Hello and welcome to this thought for the day from the Chapels Royal in Her Majesty's Tower of London. It is Tuesday, the 8th of December, 2020. We have just had the second Sunday in Advent, and praise be we were able to hold services in church once more, in spite of the strangeness of wearing masks and using hand sanitizer, with the four members of the choir separated from each other by perspex screens. We were able, nevertheless, to celebrate Holy Communion. At the end of the service, we were all glad to have been there, but still aware of the oddity of various aspects, feeling a certain alienation. It reminds me of the words in Star Trek on some alien planet. It's life, but not as we know it. Now, I have to confess immediately there to having misled you. Those words, it's life, but not as we know it, were never actually used in the Star Trek series, although we all know that they were, in inverted commas. It is a salutary reminder to check one's facts. Still, there is something about that sentence which rings bells with all of us. I rather suspect we're going to be saying those words or some version of them about our own lives for quite a while yet. We will try hard to get back to what we know as normality, but there will be some things that will not get back to normal. Perhaps never, but at least not until everyone has been vaccinated against the coronavirus and sufficient time has passed for us to be able to get back to doing things as we used to. Going to the theatre or cinema with all the seats full. Going out for meals in restaurants without thinking about how many households are represented. Taking holidays in other parts of this country or overseas without asking ourselves about tiers or quarantine. All of this coronavirus stuff is a strain, and it inevitably brings distress to some. Just the mere anxiety, not to mention the absence of the human touch. As Christians, we need to ask ourselves how we can best contribute to ensuring that we emerge from this crisis into a world which is, if possible, better than that which we knew until March this year. There has been a lot of talk about the importance of people being allowed to celebrate Christmas. Churches will be open, although capacity will be limited because of anti-infection precautions. A recent survey conducted by the government showed that places of worship, especially Christian places of worship, are not centers of infection spread. Christian churches of all denominations acted swiftly to put precautions in place to enable communal worship to take place. Admittedly, this has meant the suspension of, for example, congregational singing indoors, but we can cope with that. It has perhaps usefully focused our minds on what the essence is of our worship. At the heart of this willingness on our part to adapt our style of worship to take account of the virus is a proper Christian concern, not so much for ourselves as for others. Wearing face masks, maintaining a proper distance from others in the pews, and not mingling close together after the service are things that we willingly do to protect others. In the same vein, when we become eligible in our different groups to receive the vaccination against coronavirus, it is our Christian duty to have it, principally in order to protect others. Anyone tempted to say that the vaccine is part of a plot to take away our freedoms or to alter our DNA would be well advised to do as I did when I wanted to use that quote from Star Trek. Check the facts. And by facts, I do not mean some crackpot conspiracy theory, but scientific facts from reputable sources. Whether or not we plan to go to church this Christmas, what many people mean by being allowed to celebrate the festivities has little or nothing to do with worship and everything to do with eating and drinking with families and friends. We do have to ask ourselves, I think, whether 2 or 3 days of self-indulgence justify a likely spike in infections and probably deaths as a result. The opposite of self-indulgence, after all, is self-denial, for which there is a long Christian tradition. We're not talking about wearing a hair shirt. for giving something up for the common good. We're all going to have to make some difficult decisions this Christmas about our own health and the health of others. Many face real dilemmas, binary choices where neither option is attractive. We can easily get caught up in the moment and lose sight of the longer view. After a rotten 2020, do we not deserve a bit of a blowout at Christmas? Maybe, but there is a longer view. After all, as someone said on the radio last Saturday evening, if we do have to forego our usual Christmas in 2020, it's only 388 days to next Christmas. It certainly made me think.